Hey Taryn, my players hate tracking ammunition, so I made it so they don't have to track that anymore. But now they shoot every creature from 600 feet away and combats are trivial. How do I make ammunition matter again? Well, you can just make ammunition matter again. Running out of arrows mid-fight is an interesting way to spice up the life of your ranged units, but another way to have this work is to have your terrain and enemies be built around ranged combat in mind. You can full-on thwart it by having, say, very tight corridors like dungeons where you can't get 600 feet line of sight, or by blocking sight without blocking it physically. You can have fog-filled fields or pitch black combats in the dead of night. Yeah, your player has dark vision. It's 60 feet. You can't shoot beyond that. You don't know what's beyond that. There are definitely ways where you can make it near impossible to play an archer class, have ambushes appear right next to them, or have enemies that are invisible, or just near impossible to hit. Another way you can do this is by having the enemies know how combat works. Set up your terrain in such a way where there is a decent amount of cover around the field, ideally about 30 feet away from every other piece of cover. You could have an enemy dart from one cover to another with using only their movement. They don't have to dash. And because they can't attack melee this turn anyways, no one's in melee range, they can use their action to take the dodge action, meaning as they run from cover to cover, all attacks against them are at disadvantage. So even an archer holding their one attack isn't going to do much. Another thing to keep in mind is that archers are at disadvantage attacking in 5th edition when there is an enemy within 5 feet of them. I used to think that this meant enemy that they are attacking within 5 feet of them imposes disadvantage, but that's not true. If any enemy is within 5 feet, all ranged attacks are at disadvantage. I'm shooting at the big dragon, but the tiny little minion skeleton standing next to me is making my life harder. And if I take a step away from him, he gets an attack of opportunity. This is a way to just make the life of an archer a little bit harder if you swarm them with enemies, put tight corridors, block vision, block sight, get interesting with your movement, make your map 3D, give options for things to climb, and of course, make your own enemies ranged as well. These are a few ways to spice up this combat that has become trivial for your ranged characters, but keep in mind, D&D is meant to be fun. If your player wanted to play a ranged class, it's probably because they wanted to feel cool playing a ranged class. It is okay to challenge them. In fact, it's great to challenge them. Maybe 2 out of 3 combats should be hard for the ranged character, but it should not never be fun. Should not never? That works. It should sometimes be very fun to be an archer. It should sometimes be a winning strategy, because in real life it kind of is. So that's my answer. I hope that was helpful. If you want more in-depth discussions about combat and terrain and see us design our own tabletop RPG, join us on the DiceMakers on Spotify.